Hi, it's me, Chio. Welcome. So, this is officially my last video of the year for YouTube. I decided to make this my last video because I figured that I should give myself the chance to take a break. I should take the holiday and get to enjoy the holiday. And originally, I had planned on releasing some other kinds of videos, but I think it's best to leave them to next year, so we'll just start new, fresh, and hopefully on a better note. So that's why I'm pushing those videos until next year and taking this break. And on that note, I said that this video I'm just going to talk about what this year has been to me in terms of my journey as a writer, as a reader, and as a YouTuber. If you're hearing sounds in the background, there's construction going on around where I stay, so there's a lot of heavy machinery making the house vibrate, so I'm dealing with that right now. Back to the video. Like, so much has happened this year, but I'm not going to go into the details of what we, as the world in general, as Nigerians, have faced. I'm not going to go into that because we've all heard and dealt with that and still dealing with it. So that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to talk about I'm going to focus on just my life as a writer and reader in Nigeria. So as we know, this year I released my novel Memory of Stone, my debut physical novel, and I was so excited for the process. I still cannot believe that it happened. I still cannot believe that I am now a published author. Oh my god, it's still mind-blowing. I'm still excited about it. I'm still grateful to everyone who supported me through the start of the journey up until now and who are still supporting me. I know that next year I'm only going to come back stronger. I'm only going to do more because I want to make sure that this is a career that has life, that it lives long and it has quality. So thank you for supporting me as a writer. And also in this space of time of 2020, I was able to write a second book, which is going to be released next year. So that's another thing I'm excited about and looking forward to. So I feel like my career as a writer is really starting quite nicely. Now, people know in the world in general, when you self-publish a book, majority of self-published authors don't sell more than 100 copies of their book in the book's lifetime, or sometimes if you're in a better category within the first year, you don't sell up to more than 100 copies. But so far things have been moving nicely for me. I still have more to do. I still have more books to sell. I still have more I want to put out there, but I cannot say that it isn't going in a good direction, and I'm excited, especially getting some good news at the end of this year. I'm excited that this career has a path that it's taking. Besides writing this second book and knowing that it's going to come out next year, I was able to draft a third book, so I know that I'm going to be on it next year. I'm going to be writing a new book next year, and I'm just going to keep at it because writing is what I love to do. So I want to be able to have the creativity to keep writing. I hope that I also have the time to keep writing because I want to make sure that I keep releasing books for people that's of different stories, different crazy ideas just going in my mind. I want to make sure that I can release these books to people on time. So I'm excited that the creativity is not gone despite the hard times. Maybe even because of the hard times, I was able to channel my thoughts, my dreams, my emotions into the stories, and hopefully my creativity will at least benefit from what life has basically thrown or punched me with. So I'm excited about my path as a writer. Now, of course, the publishing process was not easy. I've said it like 1 billion times. The publishing process was not easy for me at all. So in the space of publishing and marketing and dealing with life, on the reading aspect, I was not able to read as much as I wanted to read this year. There were so many books I was looking forward to, but I couldn't get my hands on some of them. I couldn't read some of them even when I had them. It was just hard for me to get into the reading spirit. And on most occasions when I was able to read books, I was reading it with the mind that I was going to be reviewing it here or on my Instagram or something. So I didn't really give myself enough just that calm to just enjoy the books I wanted to read. And also there were books I had to read for book club, which was not always my favorite pick, but that's normal for book clubs. You don't always get what exactly you want to read. So the reading part of me did not really thrive this year, but I have books that I'm so excited to read next year, books that are coming out, books I'm just like, I really want this. I can't wait for them. And luckily, majority of them are coming out early next year. So I am excited for these books, and hopefully these books will help rekindle the easy reading habit I had recently cultivated. But I was able to read some books this year, though. I was able to read a number of books. These are just a few of the books I was able to read this year, and honestly, I loved these books. The first one here is Dusk. Why I was really excited about this book is because of the person who wrote it is a Nigerian writing about fantasy. So because I've been searching for more Nigerian fantasy writers, I was excited to read this book. This is not the only Nigerian fantasy I've read this year, but I just wanted to talk about this one because it was one of the first ones I saw and really wanted to read. So I'm very excited, happy that I got to read it. Another book I'm really happy with is This Savage Song. This one came as a surprise. When I heard about the book, I was interested in it, but I did not actually have high expectations for it. So I just requested the book and I got them as gifts. And I picked up this book and oh my gosh, this book, I love this book. And I read the second book in the duology, so I love these books so much. And they honestly, if I haven't read anything else this year, I'm glad I read these two books. They've really just they made reading something for me this year. And of course, I cannot say I read this year if I don't add this book to the list of books that I enjoyed reading. Oh my gosh, I love Sarah J. Maas's books. I love them so much, and this book just, wow, just mind blown. I was mind blown reading this book, so I was so excited I got to read this book. So happy I got to read this book too. And the last book on my list, which I got a while ago, is African Myths and Tales. This is like a collection of short stories, and there are a lot of stories. Now the print is tiny. I don't know if you can see it. The print is a small print, but they are short stories, so it's not upsetting to read. I don't like tiny print, but for this one it was fine, and that just shows how many stories are in this book. There's so many, and I was happy to have a book of African myths and tales that I could just read broadly and pick up different storylines, pick up different myths that I wasn't aware of before. And trust me, I really needed this book in my life, because I remember when I was still discovering the path I wanted to take as a writer, and I was still ghostwriting, I needed to research on African mythology, and it was so hard to come across information at that time, even in libraries, everywhere. It was so hard. So stumbling across this book really just was a game changer for me, and I look forward to harnessing actual myths we have into writing my story. As I said, I wasn't able to read all the books I wanted to read this year because life, but hopefully I can read at least one more book by the end of the year. And surprisingly, it is not one of the books that I have been fighting to read since the end of this year, looking for the stores that have it or who will buy it for me. Although I got those ones, the book I really want to read before the year ends is Caraval. I've had this book for a while now, and I've been planning on reading this. I've told everyone I was going to read it. Every week I say I'm going to read it. Something happens and I don't read it. So I don't feel like I can end this year without reading this book. And if this is the only book I get to read before the year is over, I'm fine with that. I really want to read this book. But if I get the chance to read any other book this year, it has to be one of these two books: The Invisible Life of Adilor and Love in Color. really wanted these books. I fought to get these books and I got them. So of course I cannot not read them. If I don't get to read them this year, I will be reading them early next year. I really want to read these two books. They've been on my list for a while and I'm happy that I'll finally be able to get my hands on them. So those are the books I want to read, and besides reading, I really just want to rest at the end of the year. That's what I would just want to do. Take my time to read a book as slowly as I can without I usually rush through books, but I'm going to take my time to read this book and take my time to rest, because resting is a very valuable thing to do. Everyone needs the time to just reset. So I just want to reset so I can start next year on a strong and healthy note. So that's what I want to do with my rest of the holiday period. Speaking of things to help reset yourself, writing and reading have been my passions for my whole life. Reading has always been a pastime for me. I get inspired by books, but I just read for reading's sake. But since I became a writer, I found that as much as I still love reading, reading always feels like I'm also working. Because even when I'm reading for pure entertainment, my mind, somewhere at the back of my mind, I'm also thinking about what it is I can learn from this writer, what it is I would have done differently. Just thinking about the process critically too, instead of just enjoying the book fully. And it's the same with writing. I'm also a fashion designer and I love sketching clothes and things like that, but all the things that I have passions for, I have turned them into work. And we all know that work is not relaxing no matter how much you love it. So this year I've been thinking of what else I can pick up as a hobby, something that I know that I'm not going to turn into work, something that is just for me. I thought of exercising and all of that, but those are not the kind of hobbies I'm looking for. I want a hobby that is relaxing. And there was one idea that had been in my mind for a while now, but I kept putting it off, even though I used to love to do it before. But then I went for a Halloween party and I got to rekindle my love for painting. And this was the work I painted on that day. Please don't judge it too harshly. It was I think it's great. It's like trees, nature, kind of abstract. I rushed through it in like 5-10 minutes. So I feel like for someone who hasn't touched paint in half her life or even more, this was I did a fairly good job, right? And if you want to buy it, it is available for purchase for 100,000 billion monies. So if you have that, you can buy it. Okay, no, I'm not selling my works. If I ever want to give out art, I will give it out for free, because I want this to be just me having my hobby, something that I can express myself with besides expressing myself through writing, something I can do that without stressing myself too much mentally or physically, and just enjoy the process. So painting is something that I look forward to doing more of in 2021. More construction noise. For my YouTube video, this is another aspect of my life stroke career that I want to do better at. I had plans for my YouTube channel this year, but I wasn't able to accomplish all the goals that I set out, and it is partly my fault. Just I let so many things overwhelm me. I know I was new to writing, new to publishing, but they overwhelmed me to the point that I wasn't able to be consistent on my YouTube channel. I couldn't get back into the groove until end of the year, and I saw it pay out. I saw the payoff of actually devoting that time, consistency, and attention to my YouTube channel. It started growing again. I started meeting YouTubers, having a better community. So I know that being consistent on YouTube is valuable. I started this YouTube channel as a means to teach other writers, because it was easier when I started teaching. I knew that adding this extra part would help get the message across to some people, so that's why I started it. But I found out that it's not, this thing doesn't just help others, it also helps me. I get to work on my speech, get to work on my confidence, get to work on expressing myself, growing my community. So as much as you're either enjoying or learning from the videos I post, just know that I'm also benefiting from it greatly. So I'm really grateful for this chance. I'm grateful for your views because it keeps me going. So because, and with all that in mind, I know that the plans I have, the videos I already planned, more plans I'm going to make next year for this YouTube channel. I'm going to make sure I stay consistent, and I'll do my best, my utmost best, to make sure I post at least once a week. You can quote me on that. You can save the days when I said this, because this YouTube channel, I want it to grow, because I want to know that something that I think is important and something that I love, I'm putting value and time into it, and it is paying off for it. So next year, this YouTube channel, I'm going to be pushing for it. I'm going to be doing a lot with it, and just prepare yourself, because this is what you're going to enjoy watching all the time. So just mark your schedules, make sure you have at least one day every week to enjoy the content I'll be providing on this YouTube channel. And basically these are like the things I have noticed and done this year, and these also play into what I want to do next year: my writing, my reading, my hobbies, my personal life, my YouTube channel. I want to make sure that however I approach it next year, I am not forcing anything or neglecting anything, but rather every action is with value. I want to make sure that my profession is doing well. I want to make sure that the content I'm providing for my viewers, they're enjoying it, and I want to make sure that I'm giving myself that actual time to rest or to work, or just have a good balance to make sure that I'm being healthy both mentally and physically, so that I can provide for myself and other people, provide that value well. So I think that sums up what I have to talk about in this video. If you like this video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe. Merry Christmas. See you next year. Bye.